The sky over Zephyria was alive with shimmering colors, a dance of soft greens and purples that reflected off the floating cities. Birds with crystal-like feathers glided between towers, and the rivers that ran through the city sparkled under the twin suns. Despite the beauty of this world inside the royal palace, Princess Lysera's heart was heavy with fear. "Father, please," she cried, her voice trembling. "Not that human warrior. He terrifies me." King Vale, her father, looked at her calmly. His long robe swayed as he walked through the golden halls of the palace. "Lysera," he said firmly, "this is not a matter of fear. This is a matter of duty. Marcus Kane is the only one who can help us now." Lysera shook her head, tears welling in her large violet eyes. "But father, his reputation, the stories, he is terrifying. I cannot face him." Vile's face softened. "I know you are afraid, my daughter. But fear is not always weakness. Sometimes it is a guide. You must learn to see the truth beyond the stories." Lysera's hands trembled. She had heard the stories of Marcus Kane for years. A human from the distant star system of Solara, he was known across countless galaxies. His victories in battles were legendary. Whole fleets had fallen before his strategies. Entire war zones had been quieted with his name alone. And yet some whispered that even Marcus Kane could be merciless. Her father placed a hand on her shoulder. "He is coming here to help us, not harm us. You must trust that. And perhaps you will learn that courage can come from the most unexpected places." Lysera did not feel reassured. Every fiber of her being wanted to hide, to escape to the floating gardens or the safety of her private chambers. But she knew the king's command was final. She had no choice but to face the human warrior. Outside the palace gates, the wind shifted, carrying a strange, sharp scent from the stars. A ship descended slowly, its metal hull gleaming under the twin suns. Unlike Zephyria's organic designs, it was solid, angular, and clearly human-made. Lysera's heart pounded. "Father, it's him," she whispered. Vale nodded. "Yes, and now you must meet him." The ship landed with a soft hum and a figure stepped out. Marcus Kane. He was taller than any human she had seen in Hulgarian archives, broad-shouldered and with a calm, commanding presence. His dark eyes scanned the palace courtyard, observing everything without a word. Even the palace guards, who had never known fear in their lives, felt their pulse quicken at his presence. Lysera clutched the edge of the balcony above the landing pad. Her hands were cold, her stomach tight with fear. Marcus Kane's gaze shifted slightly, as if he had sensed her watching. A small, almost imperceptible nod came from him, and then he walked toward the palace gates. King Vile met him at the entrance. "Welcome to Zephyria, Marcus Kane. I trust your journey was safe?" Marcus inclined his head. "Safe, Your Majesty. I understand the urgency. I am ready to assist." His voice was deep, steady, and calm. There was no arrogance in it, only quiet strength. Vale gestured toward the palace. "Come, we should discuss the threat immediately." Lysera followed reluctantly, her violet eyes fixed on Marcus as he entered the palace. She noticed the way he moved, precise, confident, yet measured. Each step seemed controlled, deliberate. He was nothing like the reckless warriors in Zephyrian history she had studied. And yet, the stories were right. There was something frightening about him, something that made the hair on her arms rise. The meeting room was large and circular, with glowing panels that displayed maps of the planet. King Vale waved Marcus to the center. "The threat we face is serious," he began. "A faction known as the Vorax Syndicate has infiltrated our cities. They plan to seize the throne and destabilize Zephyria. They have spies everywhere, even within the palace." Marcus studied the maps carefully. His fingers traced lines of energy flows, troop movements, and communication signals. "I see," he said, his voice calm but precise. "You need someone who can identify the Syndicate's operatives and prevent the assassination of the royal family." Vile nodded. "Exactly. And I believe you are that person." Lysera's stomach twisted. She wanted to run, to hide from this terrifying human. "Father, please." "I cannot, Lysera," Marcus interrupted softly, his dark eyes turning toward her. "I am not here to harm you. I am here to protect you." His words were simple, but the tone was firm, unshakable. Despite herself, Lysera felt a tiny flicker of hope. Could he really be here to protect her? Or was this just another story? Vile cleared his throat. "Lysera, you must accompany Marcus on a reconnaissance mission. He will need your knowledge of the city and the floating districts. Together you will gather intelligence on the syndicate. Lysira's eyes widened. Accompany him, alone? Marcus inclined his head. I will ensure your safety, but you must trust me and remain calm. Lysira's hands clenched into fists at her sides. Trust him? Could she? Her fear screamed at her to flee, but the look in Marcus's eyes, calm and steady, held a strange reassurance. She did not feel like running as strongly as before. The next morning, the two prepared to leave the palace. Guards and attendants watched as the princess and the human warrior stepped into the hovercraft that would take them across Zephyria's floating cities. As the craft glided over the forests, rivers and shimmering towers, Marcus spoke quietly. The Vorak Syndicate is clever. They hide in plain sight. We must be careful and observant. Lysira listened, still tense. She studied him in silence, noting how he remained calm even as the city below passed like a blur. Every muscle in his body seemed alert, ready for anything. And yet there was no sign of panic, no rush. Finally, she asked in a small voice, Marcus, why do people fear you so much? He turned slightly toward her. Fear often comes from misunderstanding. People see what I do in battle, but they do not see the choices I make, the planning, the care. I fight to protect, not to destroy. Lysira blinked. That was not what she expected. Humans were often described as fierce, reckless, and brutal. Yet here was Marcus, calm and deliberate, talking about protection. The craft landed near one of the lower districts, a place where the syndicate's presence was suspected. As they stepped out, shadows moved among the buildings. Marcus's hand rested lightly near his side, ready for action, but not aggressive. Suddenly, a group of syndicate operatives appeared, blocking the narrow street. Marcus moved first. In a fluid motion, he disarmed and incapacitated the attackers without harming them seriously. Lysira watched, horrified and awed. He turned to her, voice calm. Stay close. Observe, but do not panic. Lysira's fear did not vanish, but something had changed. She was still terrified, but a part of her began to admire him. His skill, his calmness, his precision. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. By the end of the day, they had gathered important information about the syndicate. Lysira realized she had survived the mission, and Marcus had protected her at every turn. As the sun set over the floating city, painting the sky in colors that matched her hair, Lysira finally whispered, Perhaps he is not as terrifying as I thought. Marcus glanced at her, his dark eyes softening just slightly. Fear is natural. Courage comes from facing it little by little. Lysira nodded silently, still unsure, still nervous. But for the first time, she felt a glimmer of trust. The human warrior had arrived, feared by all, and yet in his presence. Princess Lysira began a journey that would teach her about courage, loyalty, and the strength of humans that even legends could not fully describe, and so, the first day of the morning sun rose over Zephyria, painting the floating cities in soft shades of gold and violet. Princess Lysira stared out of her chamber window, her mind restless. Yesterday she had watched the human warrior Marcus Kane in action. His calm, controlled strength had both terrified and fascinated her. A soft knock on her door pulled her from her thoughts. Princess Lysira. It is time, said one of her attendants. Lysira nodded silently and followed. The royal hovercraft waited at the palace gates, its engines humming softly. Marcus stood by the entrance, already prepared for the day's mission. His armor gleamed under the morning light, not flashy but practical and strong. Good morning, Princess, Marcus said, his voice calm, but with a tone that made her sit up straighter. Today we begin the real work. Lysira swallowed her fear and nodded. I'm ready, I think. Marcus gave a faint smile, acknowledging her effort. Courage is often pretending you are ready until you truly are. They boarded the hovercraft and left the palace behind, gliding over the forests and rivers of Zephyria. Marcus explained their mission as they moved. The Vorak Syndicate is dangerous, he said. They infiltrate from within. Their agents are clever, and they hide among citizens who seem loyal. Our task is to identify them before they strike. We must gather information carefully. Lysira listened, her violet eyes wide. And what if we are discovered? Marcus's expression remained calm. Then we adapt. Fear slows people down. Confidence helps them act correctly. You will learn to observe without panic. They landed in the lower districts, narrow streets winding between tall buildings that looked like living trees carved into complex forms. It was a quieter part of the city, but Marcus knew it held clues to the syndicate's plans. Stay close, he instructed. Do not attract attention. Lysera followed silently. Every step Marcus took was careful, measured. He examined walls, doors, and even the smallest details. Footprints in dust, marks on walls, subtle changes in energy signals. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the street. Lysera froze. Marcus's hand hovered near his side, but he did not panic. Watch and observe, he said quietly. A group of small cloaked figures appeared, moving quickly between buildings. Lysera's heart pounded. She recognized them from the descriptions her father had given. Syndicate scouts. Marcus stepped forward, his movements smooth, almost like flowing water. Within moments, the scouts were disarmed and restrained. None seriously harmed, but none able to escape. Lysera stared in awe. He moved like a shadow himself, careful, silent but precise. Do not be afraid, Marcus said to her as he tied the last scout's bindings. Fear can be dangerous if it stops you from thinking. Observe, learn, and adapt. That is the key. Lysera nodded, trembling, but she felt a small spark of understanding. Marcus was not just strong. He was careful, thoughtful, and disciplined. His strength was not in recklessness, but in control. The scouts were interrogated quietly, revealing little but enough to guide Marcus. They are part of a larger network, he explained. We need to trace their communications and identify the higher-ranking members. Over the next hours, Marcus led Lysera through the winding streets, showing her how to notice small signs of syndicate activity. A slight change in the color of walls, a pattern in the placement of symbols, a movement that seemed out of place. Lysera began to feel useful. She pointed out a subtle marking that Marcus had missed, and he nodded in approval. Good, he said. You have a sharp eye. That is why I need you here. Observation is as important as action. By midday, they reached an abandoned district near the edge of the city. The buildings were older and the streets were quieter. Marcus paused, listening carefully. Then he motioned for Lysera to crouch behind a wall. From the shadows, a small group of syndicate operatives emerged, armed with energy weapons. They moved cautiously, unaware of Marcus and Lysera's presence. Lysera's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to run to hide, but Marcus placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You are safe here, he whispered. Watch closely. Marcus moved like a shadow through the street, taking down the operatives one by one. His movements were fast, controlled, and precise. Not a single one of them could reach him, and he never wasted unnecessary force. Lysera's fear began to shift into something else, admiration. She realized that Marcus's terrifying reputation was only part of the story. He was fearsome, yes, but he was also disciplined, ethical, and careful. After the operatives were subdued, Marcus returned to her side. We have enough information for now, he said. We need to analyze this and plan our next move. Lysera nodded, still catching her breath. You are amazing, she admitted quietly. Marcus gave a faint smile. Thank you. But remember, this is not about me. It is about protecting people, about stopping those who would harm innocents. You have your own skills, Princess. Observation, intuition. These are valuable too. They returned to the hovercraft and flew back toward the palace. Lysera's mind was racing. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She felt a new feeling growing. Trust. In the palace war room, Marcus laid out the patterns they had discovered. Syndicate agents had been working in pairs, sending coded messages through hidden channels. He showed Lysera how to identify the codes and read the subtle signals that others might miss. You see, Marcus said, strength alone is not enough. Intelligence, observation, and careful thought can prevent destruction before it happens. Lysera watched him work, fascinated. He was not just a warrior. He was a strategist, a thinker. She realized that humans, in general, had a way of combining courage with ingenuity that she had never truly seen before. King Viel entered the room, looking pleased. Lysera, you have returned safely. And Marcus, your methods. I am impressed, Marcus inclined his head. Thank you, Your Majesty. The work is not finished. The Syndicate is clever, and they will strike again. We must remain vigilant. Lysera stepped forward. Marcus, will you stay with me? I want to learn from you. I want to help. Marcus's dark eyes softened slightly. I will teach you. But you must be honest about your fears and willing to face them. Courage grows slowly through experience and understanding. Lysera nodded, feeling both nervous and excited. For the first time, she believed that she could face the challenges ahead with Marcus by her side. That evening, as the sun set behind the floating cities, Lysera walked along the palace gardens with Marcus. The wind carried a soft fragrance of Zephyria's blossoms, and the colors of the sky mirrored her thoughts. A mixture of fear, hope, and wonder. "You were right," she said quietly. "I am still afraid, but I think I can face it now." Marcus nodded. "Fear is natural. Courage is learning to act despite it. You have taken the first step." Lysera looked at him, still noticing his strong presence, still feeling the shadow of awe and fear that had come with his arrival. And yet there was a growing warmth inside her. She realized that this human warrior, feared by many, could also become someone she trusted, someone who could guide her through danger. The night fell, and the palace lights glimmered like stars among the towers. Princess Lysera could not sleep completely. She thought of the syndicate, of Marcus, and of the strange feelings stirring in her heart. Fear, admiration, respect, they were tangled together, and she knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for the first time, she felt ready to face them. Not because she was fearless, but because she was learning to stand beside someone who could show her how to turn fear into strength. And so, the day ended with Zephyria safe for now, and the princess beginning a journey of courage, understanding, and a slow but steady trust in the human warrior who had terrified her at first sight. The next morning, Zephyria's twin sons rose slowly, casting long golden shadows over the floating city. Princess Lysera awoke with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Yesterday had been her first real mission with Marcus Kane, the human warrior. She had survived, learned, and even contributed to identifying the syndicate's agents. And yet she knew today would be harder. As she walked to the courtyard, Marcus was already waiting by the hovercraft. He stood silently, scanning the skies and streets with alert eyes. His presence was both calming and intimidating, a contradiction she was beginning to understand. "Good morning, Princess," Marcus said. "Today we go deeper. The syndicate is clever. They hide in plain sight. We need to find their leaders and understand their plans before they strike." Lysera nodded, her hand still trembling slightly. I am ready." Marcus glanced at her, giving a small nod of encouragement. "Remember, observe everything. No detail is too small." They took off, the hovercraft gliding silently above the forests and rivers. Today's target was an older district at the edge of the city, an area of abandoned buildings where syndicate activity had been reported. Marcus had explained that these buildings were ideal for hiding, planning, and training new recruits. When they landed, Lysera's stomach twisted. The district was quiet, eerie. Shadows stretched across broken streets, and the wind carried a strange rustling sound. Every instinct in her body urged her to run, but she did not. Marcus led the way, moving like a shadow among the buildings. Lysera followed closely, trying to mimic his steps. She noticed small details he pointed out. Unusual footprints, faint markings on walls, and energy signals that did not belong. Suddenly, a faint noise came from a nearby alley. Marcus froze, his hand resting lightly on the side of his utility belt. Lysera's heart jumped into her throat. "Stay behind me," Marcus whispered, and remained silent. A group of cloaked figures emerged, moving cautiously. They were the syndicate operatives, armed with compact energy weapons. Lysera's fear spiked, but Marcus did not flinch. He moved forward, disarming and disabling the operatives with precise, controlled motions. Not a single shot was wasted, yet no one was killed. Lysera's eyes widened. How can you do that?" she whispered. Marcus glanced at her, his dark eyes steady. "Control, observation, and experience. Fear makes people reckless. Calmness makes them effective." After the operatives were restrained, Marcus studied their movements and equipment. "They are part of a larger network," he explained. "We need to trace their communications to find the leaders. And we must be careful. The syndicate has spies everywhere." Lysera watched him work, fascination mixing with fear. Marcus's reputation as a terrifying warrior was deserved, yes, but he was more than that. He was strategic, disciplined, and cautious. The fearsome image she had imagined was only part of the truth. Hours passed as they moved through the abandoned district. Lysra began to notice details she had overlooked before. She pointed out a symbol etched faintly into a wall, a subtle marking the syndicate used to communicate. Marcus paused and nodded approvingly. "Good eye, Princess," he said. "Observation is as important as action. Your eyes can see things I might miss." Lysra's chest swelled slightly with pride. For the first time, she felt she was contributing, not just following. As the sun began to set, casting long purple shadows across the streets, Marcus stopped near an old building. "We should rest here for a moment," he said. "Tomorrow we move closer to the syndicate's inner circle. It will be more dangerous." Lysra nodded silently, her fear returning in small waves. I don't know if I am ready," she admitted softly. Marcus's expression softened. "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite fear. You are learning quickly, Princess. Each step you take builds strength." That night, as they rested in the abandoned building, Lysra could not sleep. She thought about the human warrior beside her. He was terrifying in reputation, yes, but beside her, he had become a protector, a teacher. His presence was strong and commanding, yet he treated her with respect and patience. The next morning, they prepared to continue their mission. Marcus explained that they would attempt to infiltrate a known syndicate hideout. "This is risky," he warned. "We must be careful and precise. One mistake could expose us." Lysra's stomach tightened, but she nodded. "I understand. I want to help." They approached the hideout cautiously. Marcus led the way, scanning for traps and alarms. Lysra followed, her eyes sharp, trying to spot anything unusual. Inside, the hideout was dimly lit. Shadows danced along the walls, and faint noises echoed through the corridors. Marcus moved silently, a predator in control of the situation. Lysra's fear pulsed, but she stayed close, remembering his instructions. They found a room where several syndicate members were gathered around a holographic map. Marcus signaled to Lysra to stay low. He observed the room, noting the positions, the technology, and the communication devices. Suddenly, one of the operatives turned toward them, sensing their presence. Marcus acted instantly, moving with fluid precision. Within moments, the operatives were subdued, tied up and unable to resist. Lysra's heart raced. You are incredible," she whispered. Marcus looked at her, his gaze calm. "Incredible? No, prepared, careful, and disciplined. That is what matters. You saw how I acted. Observe, stay calm, and control your movements. That is how we succeed." Lysra nodded, feeling a mix of fear and admiration. She realized that Marcus's strength came not just from his physical abilities, but from his mind. He planned, calculated, and acted with care. And yet he could react instantly when danger appeared. After securing the hideout, they gathered data on the syndicate's plans. Marcus showed Lysra how to analyze patterns in their movements, communication methods, and strategies. She listened carefully, realizing that humans had a way of thinking that combined logic, courage, and adaptability. By the time they returned to the palace, the sun was setting. Lysra felt exhausted but exhilarated. She had faced fear, observed, and even contributed to the mission's success. In the palace gardens, she turned to Marcus. I think I understand now. You are terrifying, yes, but also amazing, and I trust you." Marcus gave a faint smile. "Trust is earned, Princess, and you have taken the first steps. Fear can teach you. Courage can grow from it. You are learning both." Lysra looked at him, seeing not just the warrior feared by many, but a mentor, a protector, and someone who could guide her through danger. Her fear had not vanished, but it had changed. It had become respect, understanding, and a cautious hope. That night, as she gazed at Zephyria's twin moons, Lysra felt a spark of determination. She would not be paralyzed by fear. She would learn, adapt, and stand beside the human warrior, no matter how intimidating he seemed. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. The syndicate was clever, dangerous, and relentless. But with Marcus Kane beside her, she felt ready to face whatever came next. The journey was only beginning, but the bond between the princess and the human warrior had already begun to grow. Fear and respect intertwined, forming the first threads of trust and courage that would carry them into the battles ahead. And for the first time, Lysira felt that perhaps humans, though strange and terrifying in reputation, could be the key to protecting Zephyria, and maybe even teaching her the true meaning of bravery. The day began quietly in Zephyria's palace. The twin suns bathed the city in gold, and the floating towers shimmered against the violet sky. Yet beneath the calm tension simmered. Marcus Kane and Princess Lysira had returned from another successful mission, but the Syndicate's threat still loomed. King Vale paced in his chambers, reviewing reports and messages. Marcus stood beside him, analyzing the intelligence gathered from the lower districts. Lysira watched from a distance, her violet eyes following every movement. She had grown more confident since their first mission, but a part of her still felt fear around Marcus. It was a strange mix, terror and admiration coexisting in her chest. Suddenly, an urgent message arrived from one of the palace's trusted advisors. Vile read it carefully, frowning. "This cannot be. One of our own has betrayed us," he said, his voice low but heavy with concern. Lysira stepped closer. "Father, what do you mean?" Vile looked at her gravely. "Someone in the royal court has been feeding information to the Syndicate. They know our movements, our plans, even the locations of our reconnaissance missions. We must act immediately." Marcus's expression remained calm, but his eyes darkened slightly. "Do you have a suspect?" he asked. Vale nodded. "Yes, though I cannot be certain. We must investigate discreetly before confronting them. Princess, you will stay close to Marcus. The palace is no longer fully safe." Lysira swallowed, her fear rising again. Being close to the human warrior now felt like both a comfort and a reminder of danger. "I understand," she said quietly. They began moving through the palace corridors, Marcus leading with precise steps. His senses seemed heightened, noticing every small detail. A slightly ajar door, a shadow moving against the light, a faint sound of whispering. Lysira followed, learning to observe like he did. As they approached the council chambers, a sudden movement caught Marcus's attention. He signaled for Lysira to remain silent and crouch behind a column. From the shadows emerged a figure, the palace advisor they had trusted. He carried a sealed communication device, and Marcus's eyes narrowed. "He is the traitor," Marcus whispered. "Do not be seen." Lysira's heart pounded. The man they had trusted, the one they had believed loyal, was now the enemy. Fear surged, but Marcus's calm presence grounded her. She watched as he moved with silent precision, approaching the traitor without alerting him. "Stop right there," Marcus said firmly, his voice echoing slightly. The traitor froze, the device slipping from his hands. "You are under arrest for conspiracy with the Syndicate." The traitor's eyes widened in panic. You cannot," he shouted, but Marcus was faster. With skillful movements, he disarmed the man and secured the device. Lysira observed, amazed at how effortlessly Marcus handled the situation without unnecessary violence. "You see, Princess," Marcus said, turning toward her briefly, "control is more powerful than aggression. Never underestimate calmness in the face of danger." Lysira nodded, still catching her breath. I understand now. You are terrifying, yes, but also careful and wise." Marcus's gaze softened slightly. "Fear is natural, Princess. Courage grows from understanding fear and acting despite it. You are learning well." They escorted the traitor to the palace, holding cells, ensuring he could not alert the Syndicate. King Vale met them there, relief and concern mixing on his face. "Marcus, Lysira, well done," Vale said. "This betrayal could have cost us dearly. But thanks to your vigilance, it has been contained." Lysira felt a swell of pride, though fear still lingered. She had seen firsthand how dangerous the Syndicate could be, and how deadly betrayal was within the palace walls. Yet she had survived, and she had helped. That night, the palace held an emergency council meeting. Marcus presented the findings from the traitor's communications. The syndicate had been planning an attack on the royal family, coordinating from hidden locations across Zephyria. The timing was near, and their strategy was clever, using misdirection and secret signals to avoid detection. Lysera listened, absorbing every detail. Marcus explained the plan to counter the attack, emphasizing observation, precise timing, and coordination. The princess began to see how humans like Marcus combined strategy with action. It was not just strength, they used intelligence, insight, and calm under pressure. "You will need to participate in this," Marcus said, looking at Lysera. "Your knowledge of the palace layout, the secret passages, and the people is essential. You can help us succeed." Lysera felt a mix of fear and determination. I will do my best," she said. "I want to help." The following day, the syndicate made their move. A series of explosions rocked the lower districts, drawing attention away from the palace. Marcus and Lysera moved quickly, using hidden passages and secret corridors to anticipate the syndicate's next steps. In one of the palace halls, they encountered a group of syndicate operatives attempting to breach the royal chambers. Marcus acted instantly, disarming and disabling them with careful precision. Lysera stayed close, observing, and even helped by signaling hidden traps and weak points in the operatives' formation. "Good work," Marcus said quietly. "Observation is as important as action. You are learning quickly." The battle escalated as more operatives appeared. Marcus led with strategy, not brute force. He used the palace's layout, hidden doors, and strategic traps to gain the upper hand. Lysera followed, using her knowledge of secret corridors to guide Marcus and intercept potential threats. Finally, they reached the syndicate's leader, a cunning figure who had orchestrated the palace infiltration. Marcus and Lysera confronted him together. The leader attempted to flee, but Marcus's strategy and Lysera's guidance cornered him. "You are defeated," Marcus said firmly, his voice steady. "Your plans will no longer harm Zephyria." The leader's expression twisted with disbelief. "A human. And a princess. Together?" he spat. "Impossible." Lysera realized then how far she had come. The human warrior who had terrified her was now an ally, a teacher, and someone she trusted completely. Fear had transformed into respect, and respect into courage. After the syndicate leader was captured, Marcus turned to her. "You acted well, princess. You faced fear, observed carefully, and contributed to the victory. This is how courage grows, through action and understanding." Lysera smiled, a mixture of relief and pride filling her chest. I never thought I could do something like this. I was so afraid. But I see now that fear can teach you, not just stop you." King Vial entered the chamber, looking at both of them with pride. "Lysera, Marcus, you have protected Zephyria today. Your courage and skill have saved countless lives. I am proud of you both." Marcus nodded respectfully. "The work is never finished, Your Majesty. But today we succeeded because we combined knowledge, strategy, and courage. Humans and Zephyrians can achieve great things together." Lysera looked at Marcus, seeing not just the terrifying warrior of legend, but a mentor, protector, and ally. Her fear had not vanished entirely, but it had changed. It had become a source of strength, guiding her to act, learn, and trust. That evening, as the twin moons rose over Zephyria, Lysera and Marcus walked through the palace gardens. The air was cool, and the soft glow of the moons reflected on the floating rivers below. "You were right," Lysera said quietly. "Courage comes from facing fear, not ignoring it. And I think I understand humans a little better now. You are different from what I expected." Marcus smiled faintly. "Different, yes. But strength, courage, and careful thought are not unique to humans. They are qualities anyone can learn. You have shown them today." Lysera looked at him, her heart swelling with a mix of admiration and relief. She realized that the terrifying warrior she had feared was also the key to her own growth. Fear had brought them together, but trust, courage, and teamwork had forged a bond that could withstand even the syndicate. The morning sun rose over Zephyria, painting the floating city in soft gold and violet. The calm was deceptive. Marcus Kane and Princess Lysera knew that the syndicate had not been fully defeated. The leader they had captured was only one piece of a larger network, and more operatives were preparing to strike. Today, Zephyria's fate would be decided. Lysera stood at the edge of the palace balcony, looking down at the city below. She had grown since the first day Marcus arrived. Fear still touched her, but it no longer controlled her. She had learned to observe, to act, and to trust, and she trusted Marcus Kane completely. Princess, Marcus said as he stepped beside her. Today will be dangerous. But remember, calmness and strategy are as important as courage. Lysera nodded. I am ready. I think Marcus gave a faint smile. That is enough. Fear will always be there. Acting despite it is what matters. They moved quickly to the war room where King Viel awaited them. The twin suns reflected on the polished floor, highlighting the gravity of the moment. Marcus spread out a holographic map of the city. The Syndicate has coordinated attacks across multiple districts, Marcus explained. They aim to create chaos and weaken the palace defenses. We must divide our forces carefully. Lysera, your knowledge of the city's hidden passages will allow us to intercept them. Lysera studied the map, pointing out routes, secret corridors, and vantage points. Marcus listened, nodding approvingly. Excellent. Your insight will be invaluable. Together, we can stop them. The battle began as Syndicate operatives launched attacks in the lower districts. Explosions shook the streets and alarms rang through the city. Marcus led a group of palace guards, moving with precision and strategy. Lysera stayed close, guiding him through secret corridors and warning of hidden traps. In one alley, a group of operatives blocked their path. Marcus moved first, disarming them with swift, precise motions. Lysera assisted by signaling weak points in their formation. The operatives were subdued without serious harm, their weapons taken, their plans thwarted. You are improving, Marcus said quietly, his dark eyes observing her. Control, observation, and careful action. You are learning quickly. Lysera felt a surge of pride. I'm trying, she admitted. You make it easier to face fear. Marcus's faint smile conveyed approval. It is not me alone. Courage grows from within. I only guide it. They pressed on, moving deeper into the city. The Syndicate had taken refuge in an old industrial district near the edge of Zephyria. Marcus and Lysera approached cautiously, aware that this was the heart of the enemy's operations. The district was quiet at first, but shadows moved in the corners. Marcus signaled for Lysera to stay low and silent. He moved forward, scanning for traps and ambushes. Lysera's eyes darted from shadow to shadow, noticing details that even Marcus might miss. A faint mark on a wall, a disturbed crate, a slight shimmer of energy. Suddenly, a group of Syndicate operatives emerged, attempting to surround them. Marcus acted instantly, using precise movements and strategic positioning to neutralize the threat. Lysera followed, her hands shaking slightly, but she acted, signaling traps and weak points. Together they moved like a single unit. Fear no longer paralyzed her. Instead, it sharpened her senses and guided her actions. Marcus noticed, giving a faint nod of approval. Finally, they reached the Syndicate leader's stronghold, a fortified building with advanced security measures. Marcus studied the defenses carefully. This is their center, he said. We must act smartly. Rushing in would be dangerous. Strategy and timing are everything. Lysera observed the security measures and shared her insights. There is a ventilation shaft here, she said, pointing to a small access point. It leads directly inside. It is narrow, but we could reach the control room undetected. Marcus's dark eyes met hers. Excellent. We will use your knowledge and my strategy. Together we can end this. They moved quietly through the ventilation shaft, the city sounds fading below. Lysera's heart pounded, but she focused on the path, trusting Marcus completely. Inside the stronghold, they encountered several Syndicate operatives. Marcus moved like a shadow, disarming and neutralizing each threat with precision. Lysera assisted, using her knowledge of the building to guide their movements and anticipate attacks. Finally, they reached the control room where the Syndicate leader waited. His expression twisted with disbelief. A human and a princess. Together impossible, he spat. Marcus stepped forward. Your plans end here. Zephyria will not fall to your Syndicate. Lysera stood beside him, her violet eyes fierce. We will protect our city, our people, and our families. You cannot win. The leader attempted to flee, but Marcus's strategy and Lysera's guidance cornered him. Within moments, he was captured, his communications devices seized, and his plans foiled. Lysera felt a rush of relief. Fear had guided her, but courage had made her act. And beside her, Marcus Kane, the human warrior who had terrified her at first, had shown her what true strength and protection meant. After the battle, Marcus turned to her. You acted well, Princess. Fear did not stop you. Observation and action did. That is courage, Lysera smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. I understand now. You are terrifying in reputation. But beside me, you are my guide, my protector, and my teacher. Marcus's eyes softened slightly. Trust and courage are built together. You have both, Princess. Today you have grown stronger, braver, and wiser. King Vial arrived soon after, his face reflecting relief and pride. Lysra, Marcus, you have saved Zephyria today. Your courage and teamwork have protected the city and its people. I am proud of you both. Lysra looked at her father, then at Marcus. The journey from fear to courage had been long, but it had shaped her into someone ready to face challenges, to act decisively, and to trust those worthy of it. That evening, the palace celebrated the victory, but Lysra needed no ceremony.
She walked through the palace gardens with Marcus, the twin moons reflecting on the floating rivers.
The air was calm. The danger passed, at least for now. You were right, she said quietly. Courage comes from facing fear, not ignoring it. And humans are not what I expected. You are strong, yes, but also wise, careful, and honorable. Marcus gave a faint smile. Strength and wisdom are not unique to humans. They are qualities anyone can learn. You have shown them today, Princess. You have grown through observation, action, and trust. Lysra looked at him, feeling admiration and gratitude. The terrifying human warrior of legend had become a hero she could respect and rely upon. Her fear had transformed into courage, her respect into trust, and her trust into hope. In the days that followed, Zephyria slowly returned to normal. The Syndicate's network had been dismantled, their plans foiled, and the palace fortified against future threats. Lysra continued to learn from Marcus, her confidence growing with each passing day. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that humans, though mysterious and sometimes terrifying, could teach lessons of courage, loyalty, and ingenuity that would change the course of her world. As the twin moons rose high above Zephyria, Lysra and Marcus stood together on the palace balcony. The city below glimmered like stars, and for the first time she did not feel fear in his presence. She felt safety, respect, and a quiet excitement for the future. The human warrior had arrived, feared across galaxies, and in the heart of a young alien princess he had forged trust, courage, and a lasting bond that would shape Zephiria's future. Fear had been faced, courage had been earned, and together, Lysra and Marcus Kane had proven that humans and aliens could achieve greatness side by side. The journey had ended, but the lessons would last forever. And the princess, once trembling at the thought of the human warrior, now stood tall beside him,